How often does that happen in Yiddish, though, that they use a lot of acronyms, or Hebrew acronyms?
They would use the traditional Hebrew ones for this for various things. Well, I mean, Yaknahoz is a great one. It comes right out of the
Arvei Pesachim,
the Haggadah, and then
10th chapter of Pesachim in the Babylonian Talmud.
It has a Yaknahoz.
Yeah.
But
which is another drinking Talmudic text.
That's right. The traditional sort of linguistic historian of Yiddish, Max Weinreich, had coined a phrase to talk about Yiddish culture as the way of Shas. That the forms of culture that come out of Talmudic existence influence the life ways of Yiddish culture.
I was going to say suffused by Talmudic and also book learning. There's a fair amount of scholastic aspects to approaching life and even,
But I mean, and this is kind of what my dissertation was kind of about.
Oh, what was your dissertation on?
It was I have to cast my mind back.
It wasn't part of your bio.
Yeah, no, it was the how contact with rabbinic texts influenced the development of Yiddish literary language.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's great.
So, but yeah, I mean, you think about it, well, you've got all of these rabbis and chachamim, and they're doing their thing, but what are, women and laborers and kids and everybody else? How are they getting all this information?
Much direct contact.
They're not studying this stuff. But why are we talking about Yaknahoz and Yash and all well, because people went home and they had families and they talked and they considered that group of people to be the ones worthy of emulation, the ones worthy of consideration, and the ones worthy. So it stands to reason that would have an influence and an effect on how they spoke and what they thought, and how they dismissed that stuff. So the most effective way of making fun of someone is to use their own language, right? So that there's all kinds of that. Like I said before, that Hebrew and Talmudic is very often lofty, but at the same time, it's also used to exactly the opposite. To skewer.
I mean, one thing with anybody who's had even 3 seconds of exposure to Yiddish knows there's a certain playfulness to it,
and that's
and irony and.
So it's a constant feedback loop of that kind of stuff, which is what makes it so much fun to study and to read. So.
Well, speaking of fun, I mean, drinking cultures are not without their amount of playfulness and fun. So I imagine that works actually quite nicely with the broader culture of Yiddish.
In what way?
Of like a sense of playfulness, maybe even irony, maybe, who knows, wordplay, whatever it is, and certainly. That's Yiddish, and then you could also use that with anybody who's in drinking environments.
Right.
There's a certain levity that's.
Well, another word for example, is the shackle.
Okay.
Where would that come from?
What's like shackling, like davening and praying? No, what's a shackle?
What's your prayer over a drink?
Oh, shehakol.
Shehakol nihiyeh bidvaro.
Shackle.
It's a shackle. So to go have a drink is machen a shackle. Lama machen a shackle. Let's go have a drink. Right? Because what are you going to say before you have a drink? I mean, that's just the way that this stuff comes into being. Wow. I mean, that's Yiddish. That's the mentality for sure. Yeah, and like I said, shikav lot. Which is, you don't have to know who Lot is to know that Shikari Lot is.
It's an enhanced level.
Really schnockert. Yeah, exactly. So and that's something that you don't want to be.